Chosen one, stop scrolling right now. This is not something you can come back to later. This is your final opportunity, and there will not be another message like this. Archangel Michael and Jesus are calling you directly in this moment. Not tomorrow, not later. Now. You have just seconds to decide if you will receive what heaven is placing in front of you. Do not skip, because the moment your eyes landed on this message, heaven itself leaned forward, and something began shifting around you in ways you cannot yet see, but deep down, you can feel it. This is not random, and it is not coincidence. Something unseen has already been set in motion, and whether you step into it or miss it depends on what you choose to do right now. This is not random, and you need to hear that again until it settles deep into your spirit. This moment was not an accident, not a coincidence, not something you just stumbled upon while scrolling without purpose. You were pulled here. There was a quiet force, something beyond logic, beyond timing, beyond even your own awareness that guided your attention to this exact message at this exact second. You may not understand it fully yet, but your spirit recognized something before your mind could catch up, and that recognition is not small. It is ancient. It is intentional. It is aligned with something that has been moving in your life long before you realized it had a name. Because the truth is, there are moments in life when everything converges. Your past, your pain, your prayers, your questions, your silent cries that no one else heard. And they meet at a single point in time where a shift becomes possible. This is that point for you. This is that moment. And you are not here by chance. You are here because something within you refused to keep running, refused to keep ignoring the call, refused to stay disconnected from what has been trying to reach you over and over again. There is a spiritual force at work here, one that does not operate on human schedules or limited understanding. It is older than time as you know it, deeper than anything you have been taught to explain, and it has been guiding you in ways you did not even notice. Every delay, every redirection, every closed door that frustrated you, every unexpected turn that made no sense at the time, it was all part of a quiet alignment, bringing you closer to this exact encounter. You thought you were lost in certain seasons, but you were being positioned. You thought you were overlooked, but you were being protected. You thought nothing was happening, but everything was being arranged behind the scenes with precision you could not see. And now, here you are, face to face with a message that feels different, heavier, deeper, almost as if it is speaking directly to something inside you that has been waiting for confirmation. That feeling you have right now, that pull, that curiosity, that sense that you should keep listening even if you cannot explain why, that is not something to ignore. That is your signal. That is your invitation. That is your moment to stop resisting what has been trying to reach you and finally allow yourself to receive it fully. So pause right here, not casually, not halfway, but intentionally. Take a breath, a real one, the kind you have not allowed yourself to take in a long time. Let the noise around you fade for just a moment. Let the distractions lose their grip. Because what is happening right now requires your full presence, not your divided attention. You have spent so much time moving, thinking, worrying, questioning, trying to hold everything together, trying to make sense of things that never gave you clear answers. But this moment is not asking you to figure everything out. It is asking you to be still long enough to recognize that something greater has already been set in motion for you. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not disqualified. You are standing at a turning point that has been building quietly through every experience you have had up until now. And what makes this moment powerful is not just what is about to happen next, but the realization that everything before this was leading here. Every time you felt like giving up, but didn't. Every time you kept going even when it made no sense. Every time you held on when everything in you wanted to let go. You were moving closer to this shift. You were moving closer to a moment where things begin to make sense in a way they never have before. And I need you to understand this clearly. Life-changing moments do not always arrive with loud announcements or obvious signs. Sometimes they come quietly, wrapped in something simple, something easy to overlook if you're not paying attention. But the ones who recognize them, the ones who feel them, the ones who pause long enough to receive them, those are the ones who step into a completely different path. Right now, you are being given that opportunity. Not tomorrow, not later. Now. And the decision is not complicated, but it is powerful. Will you treat this like everything else and move past it? Or will you recognize that something about this is different and lean into it fully? Because deep down, you already know the answer. You feel it in the way your attention locked in. You feel it in the way your thoughts slowed down just enough to hear these words. You feel it in that quiet space inside you that is starting to open again, even if just a little. That space has been closed off for a while, not because you wanted it to be, but because life made it easier to protect yourself than to stay open. But this moment is not here to overwhelm you. It is here to remind you that you are still connected, still guided, still seen, still part of something bigger than what you have been experiencing on the surface. And this turning point, it is not about changing everything instantly. It is about shifting your awareness just enough to see what has already been aligning for you. Because once you see it, once you feel it, once you truly accept that this is not random, you cannot go back to the same level of doubt, the same level of disconnection, the same way of moving through life unconsciously. Something changes when you realize that your life is not just a series of random events, but a guided journey, with moments like this placed intentionally along the way. And this is one of those moments. A moment that can redirect your path, renew your clarity, restore your belief, and reposition you for what is coming next. So do not rush past this. Do not minimize it. Do not let your mind talk you out of what your spirit already recognizes. Stay here, stay present, stay open. Because this is where the shift begins. Not somewhere else, not at some future time when everything feels perfect, but right here, right now, in this exact moment where you chose to stop, to listen, and to receive what has been waiting for you all along. Heaven is speaking to you again, and this time, you need to let it reach deeper than your thoughts, deeper than your doubts, deeper than the protective walls you built after everything you have been through. Because Jesus is reminding you with absolute certainty that you were never abandoned. Not in your weakest moments, not in your confusion, not even when you felt completely disconnected from everything you once believed in. You may have questioned it. You may have wondered why things were silent, why answers did not come when you needed them most, why it felt like you were walking through certain seasons without guidance. But the truth has never changed. You were always being watched over, always being carried, in ways you could not see, always being kept from things that would have hurt you far more than what you experienced. And heaven is not ignoring your struggle. It is acknowledging it fully. Every hidden tear, every quiet breakdown, every moment where you had to act like you were okay, when inside you were exhausted beyond words. Every time you smiled for others while holding pain you could not explain. Every time you felt misunderstood, overlooked, or pushed aside, as if your presence did not matter. Those moments were real, and they mattered. And heaven saw every single one of them, without missing anything. You were not invisible, even when it felt that way. And you were not forgotten, even when it seemed like nothing was changing. But there is something else you need to understand, something that explains why things felt so intense, why the pressure did not let up, why certain situations kept repeating or escalating in ways that drained your energy and tested your strength. There was opposition, not random difficulty, but targeted resistance trying to break your focus, weaken your spirit, and convince you to step away from what has been prepared for you. It showed up in different forms: unexpected setbacks, emotional weight that came out of nowhere, people who misunderstood you or turned against you without clear reason, opportunities that seemed close but never fully materialized. It felt like something was always just slightly off, like you were constantly being pushed to your edge, and that tension was not meaningless. It was an attempt to wear you down slowly, to make you question your worth, your direction, your purpose, until you stopped moving forward altogether. But what you could not see in those moments was that you were not facing that pressure alone, not even once. Because while that force was trying to push you back, something stronger was standing in front of you, something that refused to let you fall beyond a certain point. Archangel Michael was not passive in your story. He was active, engaged, present in ways you did not recognize at the time, intercepting things before they reached you fully, stepping into situations that could have turned out far worse, cutting off paths that looked promising on the surface, but carried consequences you were not meant to carry. There were moments when you thought you missed out, moments when you believed something good slipped away from you, moments when you felt frustrated because things did not go the way you planned. But those interruptions were not losses. They were interventions. They were precise, intentional decisions made on your behalf to keep you aligned with something greater than what you could see at the time. And the reason you are still here, the reason you are still able to hear this, to feel this, to process this message right now, is because those interventions worked. You were protected more than you realize, guided more than you noticed, and preserved through situations that could have changed your life in ways you were not meant to experience. Even in your lowest moments, when you thought you were barely holding on, there was still a boundary around you that certain things could not cross. And now you are being shown this not just to comfort you, but to awaken something inside you, to rebuild your awareness, so you stop seeing your past as a series of random struggles and start recognizing it as a protected journey with unseen support at every stage. Because once you understand that, something shifts in how you move forward. You stop questioning whether you are alone, and you start realizing you never were. You stop assuming that silence means absence, and you begin to understand that silence often means preparation. You stop believing that everything is against you, and you begin to see that much of what happened was actually working for you, even if it did not feel that way at the time. And this awareness matters right now more than ever, because you are stepping into a moment where your belief, your focus, and your alignment are going to determine how you receive what is already being released into your life. This is why you are being reminded of your protection, your guidance, your covering. Because you need to move forward with confidence, not hesitation. You need to stand in the understanding that what is meant for you will not be blocked. What is aligned with you will not be taken away. And what has been prepared for you will not miss you. But you also need to respond, not passively, not half-heartedly, but intentionally. This is not just a message to listen to. It is a moment to engage with, to acknowledge, to agree with on a deeper level. So right now, as you are still here, as you are still receiving this, I want you to do something simple but powerful, something that aligns your spirit with what is being declared over your life. Type Amen in the comment section, not as a routine action, not as something you do without thinking, but as a conscious decision to agree with the protection, the guidance, the intervention, and the shift that is already happening around you. Let it be your confirmation that you are not walking away from this moment, that you are not ignoring what you feel, that you are choosing to stand in alignment with what heaven has been doing for you all along. Because this is where things begin to solidify, not just in words, but in your awareness, in your belief, and in your willingness to receive what has already been set in motion for your life. The shift has already begun, even if your eyes have not fully caught up with it yet, even if your circumstances still look familiar, even if part of you is still waiting for something obvious to confirm what you are starting to feel inside. Because what is happening right now does not begin in the visible, it begins in the unseen, where decisions have already been made on your behalf. Heaven has reached a point where it has declared with authority, enough is enough. And that declaration is not symbolic, it is active, it is moving, it is already setting things into order that will soon reflect in your reality. The resistance that surrounded you, the hidden opposition that tried to slow you down, confuse you, and quietly work against your progress, is no longer operating the way it once did. Things that were concealed are being exposed, not always in dramatic ways, but in subtle realizations, in shifts of clarity, in moments where you suddenly see people, situations, and patterns for what they truly are. You may have already started noticing it, that quiet awareness that something does not feel the same anymore, that certain connections no longer hold the same energy, that certain thoughts no longer control you the way they used to, that certain fears are losing their grip. That is not random. That is part of the shift. Because when heaven says enough, it does not just remove obstacles, it reveals truth. And truth changes everything. It changes how you see, how you respond, how you move. And most importantly, it changes what you are willing to carry with you into your next season. And you have been carrying a lot, more than most people around you ever realized, more than you even allowed yourself to fully acknowledge. The pain you held quietly, the loneliness you learned to sit with, the silent battles you fought without recognition, without applause, without support in many cases. Those experiences shaped you in ways that are only now beginning to make sense. There were nights where you felt like no one understood you, where you questioned if things would ever shift, where you wondered if your efforts, your patience, your endurance were leading anywhere at all. There were moments where you felt like you were speaking into silence, like your prayers were going unheard, like your presence was unnoticed. And yet, you kept going. Not perfectly, not without doubt, not without struggle, but you did not stop completely. And that matters more than you realize right now. Because the shift you are stepping into is not disconnected from what you went through. It is directly connected to it. Every silent battle built something within you that you needed for what is coming next. Every moment of loneliness strengthened your ability to stand on your own when necessary. Every time you had to process pain without immediate answers, you developed a depth that cannot be taught, only experienced. And now, those internal changes are aligning with external movement. Heaven is not just acknowledging what you endured, it is responding to it. It is saying that the season where you carried everything quietly is coming to an end, that the weight that felt constant is being lifted, that the imbalance you experienced is being corrected. And this is why the shift feels different. It is not loud, it is not chaotic, it is not overwhelming. It is steady, intentional, and precise. It begins inside you first, in your awareness, in your perspective, in the way you process things, and then it starts to reflect around you in ways that confirm what has already been set in motion. You may not see the full picture yet, but you can sense that something is changing. There is a subtle release happening, a loosening of pressure, a quiet clarity that is starting to replace confusion. And even if your environment has not fully caught up, you are not where you were before. That version of you who felt completely stuck, completely uncertain, completely drained, is already beginning to shift into someone who sees differently, who feels differently, who understands that something is unfolding, even if it is not fully visible yet. And this is where many people misunderstand the process, because they expect the shift to appear instantly in their circumstances, when in reality, it begins in their alignment. It begins in their awareness of what is actually happening beneath the surface. The silence you experienced was never emptiness. It was preparation. It was a space where things were being arranged without interference, without distraction, without premature exposure. Because not everything can be built in noise. Not everything can be revealed before it is ready. And not everything that is meant for you can arrive while you are still holding on to what no longer aligns. So the silence had a purpose. It created distance between you and what was not meant to continue with you. It allowed things to fall away without you having to force it. It gave you time, even when it felt like delay, to develop the strength, the awareness, and the discernment you now carry. And now that preparation is transitioning into manifestation. Now that internal work is beginning to meet external opportunity. Now that hidden alignment is beginning to show itself in visible ways. And this is why heaven is making it clear to you that the shift is not coming. It is already here. You are already in it. The only question is whether you recognize it enough to move with it, or whether you hesitate because it does not look the way you expected. Because shifts rarely look like what we imagined. They feel different before they look different. They start internally before they show externally. And if you are not aware of that, you can miss the moment by waiting for something obvious instead of trusting what you already feel changing within you. So do not dismiss this phase just because it is quiet. Do not overlook it just because it is subtle. This is where everything begins to realign in your favor. This is where what was hidden starts to come forward. This is where the weight of your past begins to release its hold on your present. And this is where you step into a version of your life that is no longer defined by constant resistance, but by alignment, clarity, and forward movement. The shift has already begun, and you are no longer standing where you once were, even if it has not fully shown itself yet. Because what has been set in motion for you is now moving toward you with a certainty that cannot be undone. This is where the message becomes serious in a different way. Because now you are no longer just being comforted or reassured, you are being warned with clarity and urgency that you cannot afford to ignore. Do not miss this moment. Not because something will punish you, not because heaven will turn away from you, but because timing matters more than you have been taught to understand. There are windows in life that open with precision, opportunities that align with exact moments. And when those moments pass without your attention, without your response, they do not always return in the same form. Delay can cost destiny, not by removing what is meant for you, but by postponing what could have already been yours. And you have already experienced what delay feels like. You know what it is like to wait longer than expected, to feel like things are just out of reach, to sense that something is close, but not quite arriving. Now imagine extending that season simply because you overlooked a moment that was meant to move you forward. This is why the warning is not harsh, but it is firm. Pay attention. Stay present. Do not treat this like something you can revisit later with the same effect. Because this is not just information, it is activation. This is not just words, it is alignment being offered to you in real time. You asked for a sign, whether you said it out loud or carried it quietly in your thoughts. You asked for clarity, for direction, for something that would make sense of what you have been feeling and experiencing. And now, that sign is here, not in a way that forces you, not in a way that overwhelms you, but in a way that requires your awareness, because signs are only powerful when they are recognized. They do not operate by force, they operate by response. And right now, your response matters more than you realize. This is where obedience becomes important, not in the sense of control, but in the sense of alignment. Obedience here means listening when something inside you tells you to stay, to focus, to receive. It means not dismissing what you feel just because it does not follow your usual patterns. It means choosing to trust the moment, even when you cannot fully explain it. And attention is the key that unlocks everything connected to this moment. Because what you give your attention to, you give your energy to. What you focus on, you align with. And if your attention is scattered, if your focus is divided, you can miss the subtle instructions, the quiet nudges, the small details that are actually guiding you towards something greater. You do not need to understand everything right now, but you do need to stay engaged. You do need to stay aware. You do need to remain open to what is unfolding, even if it is not fully clear yet. Because this is how alignment works. Not all at once, not in a way that reveals everything immediately, but step by step, moment by moment, as long as you stay connected to it. And this is also why this moment is asking something from you in return. Not something complicated, not something heavy, but something intentional. Because receiving is not passive. It requires participation. It requires a decision to stay connected, to continue listening, to remain in alignment with the direction you are being guided toward. So when you are asked to subscribe, understand what that represents beyond the action itself. It is not just a button. It is not just a routine step. It is an act of faith. It is you saying, I am not treating this as random. I am choosing to stay connected to what is guiding me. I am choosing to remain open to the messages that are helping me move forward. It is a simple action with a deeper meaning, because it reflects your willingness to continue receiving, to continue growing, to continue aligning with what has already begun in your life. And that matters, because consistency in attention creates clarity in direction. When you stay connected, you begin to notice patterns. When you stay engaged, you begin to recognize guidance more easily. When you choose not to disconnect, you allow the process to unfold without interruption. And this is where many people fall out of alignment. Not because they are not meant for what is coming, but because they disconnect too early. They lose focus too quickly. They treat moments like this as temporary, instead of recognizing them as turning points. But you are being given the awareness now, so you do not repeat that pattern. You are being shown that this moment carries weight, that it is connected to something larger than what you can currently see, and that your response to it will influence how smoothly you move into what is already being prepared for you. So do not delay. Do not tell yourself you will come back to this later with the same level of clarity, because you cannot guarantee that. Do not minimize what you feel right now, because that feeling is your confirmation that this matters. Stay here. Stay present. Stay engaged. Because this is not just another moment passing by. This is a point of alignment, where your attention, your awareness, and your willingness to respond come together to open the next phase of your journey. And the more you honor this moment, the more clearly you will begin to see everything that has already been set in motion for you, waiting for you to fully step into it. You need to understand something that will change the way you see yourself from this moment forward. You were never meant to live a normal life. Never meant to follow ordinary patterns. Never meant to fit into spaces that required you to shrink, silence yourself, or ignore what you feel deep within your spirit. Because everything about your journey has been designed differently from the beginning. The struggles you went through were not random obstacles placed in your path. They were shaping tools, refining you, stretching you, building a level of awareness and resilience that could not be developed in comfort. While others may have walked easier roads, your path demanded more of you. More patience, more endurance, more faith without visible proof. And that difference is not a disadvantage. It is the very evidence that you are set apart for something greater than what looks ordinary. There were moments where you questioned why things felt harder for you, why certain situations repeated, why you had to learn lessons the difficult way, why you had to stand alone when others had support. And those questions were valid, but the answer was always deeper than what you could see at the time. You were being prepared, not punished. You were being built, not broken. Every delay forced you to develop patience that cannot be shaken easily. Every disappointment strengthened your discernment so you could recognize what is real and what is not. Every heartbreak taught you where your value truly comes from, so you would never again settle for something that does not align with your worth. And while you were going through all of this, there were layers of protection around you that you were not aware of. Moments where things could have gone completely differently, if not for intervention you could not see. There were paths you almost took that would have led you into situations that drained you further, connections that could have entangled you in cycles you were not meant to carry, decisions that could have delayed you far beyond where you are now. But something always shifted at the last moment. Something redirected you, something interrupted the process. Something closed the door even when you did not understand why it had to close. At the time, it felt frustrating. It felt like loss. It felt like things were being taken away from you. But now you are beginning to see that those moments were actually protection in disguise. You were not being denied. You were being preserved. You were not being blocked. You were being guided away from what did not align with your purpose.
And this is why your story does not follow the same timeline as everyone else. Because your path has been guarded with a level of intention that required certain things to be removed before they could take root in your life. You were never meant to carry what others carry. You were never meant to settle into cycles that would keep you small. And because of that, your journey required a different kind of process. But now that process is shifting. You are no longer in the same phase where everything felt like survival, where every step forward required intense effort, where every moment felt like something you had to push through just to maintain stability. That phase served its purpose, and it built something strong within you. But it was never meant to be permanent. What you are stepping into now is different. It is a transition from survival into promotion, from constant endurance into visible progress, from simply getting through situations into actually receiving the results of everything you have been building internally. And this shift is not random. It is the natural progression of everything you have already been through. Because once preparation is complete, movement begins. Once the foundation is strong enough, structure starts to rise. Once you have developed the awareness, the strength, and the discernment required, opportunities begin to align with you in ways they could not before. This is where victory starts to take form. Not as a sudden event, but as a series of aligned moments that confirm you are no longer where you used to be. You will begin to notice that things feel different, that the same situations no longer affect you the same way, that your reactions are changing, that your perspective is clearer, that your decisions are more aligned with who you are becoming. And externally, things will begin to reflect that shift. Opportunities that once felt out of reach will begin to come closer. Connections that align with your energy will begin to appear. Situations that once drained you will lose their hold on your attention. And this is how you know you are moving out of survival mode and into a space of growth and expansion. You are no longer just reacting to life. You are beginning to move with intention, with clarity,
with a sense of direction that comes from everything you have already learned. And the most important part of this shift is your identity. Because you cannot step into a new level of life while holding on to an old understanding of yourself. You cannot receive what is aligned with your growth if you still see yourself through the lens of your past struggles. You are not the person who is just trying to make it through anymore. You are the person who has been refined, strengthened, and positioned for something greater.
You are chosen, not in a way that separates you from others, but in a way that calls you to step fully into who you are meant to be, without shrinking, without doubting, without questioning whether you are worthy of what is coming next. Because everything you went through has already answered that question. You would not have made it this far if you were not capable of carrying what is ahead. You would not have been protected through what you experienced if there was nothing significant waiting for you on the other side of it. And now, as this transition continues to unfold, you are being asked to embrace that identity fully, to stop minimizing your journey, to stop comparing your path to others, to stop questioning whether things will work out for you, and to start recognizing that you have already been positioned for this next phase. Survival was never the destination. It was the preparation. Promotion is the transition, and victory is the direction you are moving toward. And everything happening right now is aligning to bring you into that reality, step by step, moment by moment. As long as you continue to move forward with the awareness that you were never meant to live a life defined by limitation, but a life shaped by purpose, guided by intention, and supported by everything that has already been set in motion for you. The curtain is lifting now, and what was once hidden from you is beginning to come into view. Not all at once, not in a way that overwhelms you, but in layers, in moments, in realizations that arrive with clarity you did not have before. There are truths that were always present, but remained just beyond your awareness. Patterns that were operating quietly in your life. Influences that shaped outcomes without you fully recognizing them. And now those things are being revealed with precision. So you can finally see what was working for you and what was working against you. This is not exposure for the sake of disruption. It is revelation for the sake of alignment. Because once you see clearly, you no longer move blindly. Once you understand what was hidden, you no longer repeat cycles that kept you in the same place. And as this curtain lifts, you will notice something powerful happening within you. Your discernment sharpens. Your intuition strengthens. Your ability to read situations, people, and opportunities becomes more accurate. Things that once confused you will begin to make sense. Situations that once felt uncertain will reveal their true nature. And connections that once felt unclear will either align with you naturally or fall away without resistance. This is the beginning of clarity, replacing confusion. And that shift alone will change how you move forward from this point on. But the lifting of the curtain is not only about seeing what was hidden, it is also about restoring what was taken, what was delayed, what was lost in seasons where you did not have the awareness or the support to hold on to it. Restoration is not just about returning things to you in their original form. It is about bringing them back in a way that reflects your growth, your strength, and your current alignment. What you lost will not return the same. It will return multiplied, refined, and positioned in a way that fits the version of you that exists now, not the version you were before. This means opportunities will come back in better forms. Connections will appear with deeper alignment, and resources will flow with greater ease than they did in the past. Because what is being restored is not just what you missed, it is what was always meant for you, now meeting you at the right time. And this is why the process you went through matters. Because if certain things had stayed in your life earlier, they would not have matched who you are becoming now. They would have limited you, distracted you, or kept you operating at a level that no longer aligns with your growth. So what felt like loss was often preparation for something greater, something more stable,
something more aligned. And now that alignment is beginning to take shape in visible ways. However, there is something important you need to be aware of as this process unfolds. Something that can influence how quickly and how smoothly you step into what is being restored to you. Spiritual exhaustion is real, and you've been carrying it longer than you realize. The weight of everything you have been through, the constant need to stay strong, the repeated cycles of waiting and adjusting, the emotional toll of holding on when things felt uncertain, all of that builds over time. You are allowed to rest, not in a way that disconnects you from what is happening, but in a way that restores your ability to receive, to recognize, and to respond. Because timing is critical in this moment. What is unfolding around you is not random. It is aligned with a specific window, a specific phase where things are moving into place with intention. And when timing is aligned, things flow differently. Opportunities connect faster, decisions become clearer, and progress feels more natural. But that alignment requires your presence. It requires you to be aware, to be attentive, to be ready to move when something presents itself. This is not the time to withdraw, not the time to disconnect, not the time to assume you can come back later and find everything exactly as it is now. Because moments like this do not operate on repetition. They operate on alignment. They appear when everything is in place, and they move forward when you engage with them. And you are already within that moment. The curtain lifting is your signal that things are no longer hidden, that clarity is available, that restoration is in motion, and that your role now is to stay present enough to recognize it as it unfolds. Do not rush ahead of it. Do not try to control it, but do not disconnect from it either. Stay balanced. Stay aware. Stay open to what is being revealed step by step. Because the more you see, the more you understand. And the more you understand, the more confidently you can move forward without repeating what held you back before. And as this continues, you will begin to notice that what once felt complicated is becoming simpler. What once felt distant is coming closer. And what once felt uncertain is becoming clear. This is the result of the curtain lifting. This is the result of hidden things being brought into light. And this is the space where restoration meets readiness, where what is coming back to you finds you prepared, aware, and fully capable of receiving it without losing it again. So take this moment seriously, not with fear, but with respect for what is happening. Because you are not just witnessing a change, you are stepping into a phase where everything begins to align in a way that reflects the journey you have already completed and the direction you are now ready to move toward. There is something else that heaven has been preparing. Something that is not just about circumstances shifting or opportunities aligning, but about a person, a connection, an encounter that will mark a clear turning point in your life. And you need to understand this deeply, because this is not an ordinary meeting. This is not something random that happens without purpose. This is a divine alignment involving someone who is already being positioned to enter your life at the exact moment it is meant to happen. This person is not coming to repeat your past, not coming to confuse you, not coming to test your worth or make you question your value, but coming with alignment, with clarity, with a presence that feels different from anything you have experienced before. And the reason it will feel different is because it is. This connection is not built on chaos, not driven by uncertainty, not sustained by emotional highs and lows that leave you drained, but grounded in something steady, something safe, something that allows you to be fully yourself without feeling like you have to protect your energy constantly. You have known connections that required effort just to maintain balance, interactions that left you questioning where you stood, situations where you had to read between the lines, interpret mixed signals, and carry emotional weight that was never yours to hold. This is not that. This is the opposite of that. This is a connection that brings peace instead of pressure, clarity instead of confusion, stability instead of unpredictability. And you will recognize it, not because it overwhelms you with intensity, but because it calms you in a way that feels unfamiliar at first. It will not demand that you prove yourself. It will not push you to chase. It will not leave you wondering what is real and what is not. Instead, it will meet you where you are, with honesty, with consistency, with an energy that aligns naturally with your own. And this person is not limited to one role, because for some, this will be a partner, someone who walks alongside you in a deeply connected and meaningful way, while for others, this may be a mentor, a guide, a supporter, or even an opportunity that carries the same energy of alignment and purpose. The form may differ, but the essence remains the same. This is someone who is connected to your next level, someone who plays a role in your growth, your healing, your movement forward. And what makes this connection powerful is not just who they are, but when they arrive. Because timing is everything, and you could not have received this person earlier in your journey. There were parts of you that needed to grow, patterns that needed to be broken, boundaries that needed to be established, awareness that needed to be developed. If this connection had entered your life before you were ready, you might not have recognized it. You might not have been able to receive it fully, or you might have approached it from a place that was still influenced by past experiences. But now, you are different. You have learned. You have changed. You have become more aware of what aligns with you and what does not. And because of that, you are now in a position to recognize this connection for what it truly is. And here is where it becomes even more important for you to stay present, because this person is closer than you think. Not in some distant future, not in a timeline that is far away, but in a space that is already beginning to align with your current path. This meeting may come in a way that feels unexpected, a conversation you did not plan, a moment you almost overlooked, a shift in your routine that places you in the right place at the right time. It may not arrive with a clear announcement or a dramatic introduction, but when it happens, you will feel the difference immediately. There will be a sense of familiarity that you cannot explain, a sense of ease that does not require effort, a sense of alignment that feels natural rather than forced. And that feeling will be your confirmation. Because this connection does not rely on external validation, it is recognized internally, through the way it resonates with you on a deeper level. And this is why your awareness matters so much right now. Because if you are distracted, if you are disconnected, if you are still operating from patterns that belong to your past, you may overlook something that is meant to shift your future. But if you stay present, if you remain open, if you trust what you feel rather than what you fear, you will recognize this connection when it appears. And once it does, things begin to change in ways that are both subtle and powerful. Your energy shifts, your clarity increases, your sense of direction becomes stronger. This person does not take from you, they add to you. They do not create confusion, they bring understanding. They do not introduce instability, they reinforce your foundation. And through that connection, doors begin to open. Not because of coincidence, but because alignment creates movement. When the right people enter your life at the right time, things begin to flow differently. Opportunities connect, ideas expand, growth accelerates. And this is why this person is significant, not just for who they are, but for what their presence activates in your life. They are part of the alignment, part of the shift, part of the movement that is already underway. And you do not need to search for them. You do not need to force anything. You do not need to overthink how or when it will happen. Your role is to stay aligned, to stay aware, to stay open to what is unfolding naturally. Because what is meant for you will not require you to lose yourself in order to receive it. It will meet you in a way that feels right, in a way that reflects the growth you have already gone through, in a way that confirms that you are no longer operating in the same patterns that once held you back. And as this continues to unfold, you will begin to see that this connection is not just about companionship or support. It is about alignment with your next chapter, a chapter that is already beginning to take shape around you, bringing with it the right people, the right energy, and the right timing to move you forward into what has been prepared for you all along.
Now you need to understand how you will recognize this person when they appear in your life. Because this is where many people become confused, not because the connection is unclear, but because they are still looking for it through the lens of past experiences, instead of through the awareness they have developed. Recognition will not come through chaos, intensity, or emotional overwhelm, the way it may have in the past. It will come through peace. And that peace may feel unfamiliar at first, because you've been conditioned to associate connection with effort, with uncertainty, with the need to figure things out as you go. But this will be different. When this person enters your life, you will not feel rushed. You will not feel pressured to respond in a certain way. You will not feel like you are being pulled in multiple directions, trying to understand where you stand. Instead, there will be a steady sense of calm, a quiet confidence in the connection that does not require constant validation. You will notice that you can simply be present without overthinking every interaction, without analyzing every word, without questioning whether something is real or temporary. That peace is your first sign. It is not loud, but it is unmistakable once you allow yourself to feel it without resistance. And from that peace comes clarity. You will not be left guessing. You will not be trying to interpret mixed signals or filling gaps with assumptions. Communication will feel natural, not forced. Understanding will come without struggle, not because everything is explained perfectly, but because there is an underlying alignment that makes things make sense without confusion. You will not feel like you are trying to solve a puzzle. You will feel like you are experiencing something that flows in a way that does not require constant effort to maintain. And that clarity is important because it removes the uncertainty that once kept you in cycles that drained your energy. You will no longer have to question your value within the connection because it will be reflected back to you consistently through actions, through presence, through the way this person engages with you. And that leads to the next sign, which is support. This connection will not take from you. It will not leave you feeling depleted. It will not create imbalance where you are giving more than you are receiving. Instead, it will support your growth, your direction, your well-being. This person will not compete with your energy. They will align with it. They will not diminish your progress. They will encourage it. They will not create obstacles in your path. They will stand beside you as you move forward. And this support will not feel like something you have to earn. It will feel like something that exists naturally within the connection. You will notice that you feel stronger, clearer, more focused when they are present, not because you depend on them, but because the alignment between you enhances what is already within you. And as this connection begins to unfold, you will also start to notice signs around you that confirm what is happening is not random. Synchronicities will begin to appear, subtle at first, then more noticeable as you pay attention. You may see repeated numbers at moments when you are thinking about this person or about your direction. You may have dreams that feel more vivid, more connected, more meaningful than usual. You may experience sudden thoughts about someone before they reach out, or find yourself in situations that seem coincidental but carry a deeper sense of alignment. Meetings may happen unexpectedly. Conversations may begin in ways you did not plan, and opportunities may arise through channels you did not anticipate. These are not coincidences. They are indicators of alignment, signs that things are moving in a coordinated way beyond what you can control or predict. And the more you notice them, the more you begin to trust the process instead of questioning it. Because divine timing does not operate through force, it operates through alignment. Things come together effortlessly when the timing is right.
Not because there is no effort involved, but because the effort required feels natural, not draining. You will not feel like you are pushing against resistance constantly. You will feel like you are moving with a current that is carrying you forward. And this is where you need to stay aware, because effortless alignment can be overlooked if you are still expecting difficulty. You may question it, simply because it feels easier than what you are used to. You may hesitate, because you are waiting for something to go wrong, because that is what past experiences taught you to expect. But this is where your growth matters. This is where your awareness becomes your guide. You are no longer in the same patterns. You are no longer operating from the same level of understanding. And because of that, what aligns with you now will feel different. It will not mirror what you have already experienced. It will reflect what you have become. And that difference is what confirms you are on a new path. So as this unfolds, do not rush it. Do not try to define it too quickly. Do not let your mind create unnecessary questions where your intuition already feels clarity. Allow the connection to develop at its own pace. Trust what you feel. Observe what is happening without forcing conclusions. Because when something is aligned, it does not need to be rushed. It does not need to be controlled. It does not need to be constantly analyzed to prove its validity. It simply reveals itself over time through consistency, through presence, through the way it integrates into your life without disrupting your balance. And this is how you will know. Not through intensity, not through confusion, not through emotional extremes, but through peace, clarity, support, and the quiet confirmation that everything is unfolding in a way that feels right without needing to be forced. And as you continue to move forward with this awareness, you will begin to see that this connection is not separate from your journey. It is part of it, aligned with your growth, aligned with your direction, aligned with everything that has been leading you to this point. And when you recognize it, when you allow yourself to receive it without resistance, you step into a level of alignment that changes not only your connections, but the way you experience everything that comes next. Your suffering had a purpose, and this is the moment where that truth is no longer something you hear, but something you begin to understand at a deeper level that reshapes how you see everything you have been through. Because what felt like punishment was never meant to break you. It was meant to prepare you for a version of your life that required strength you did not yet have at the time. Every difficult season carried a lesson. Every setback carried a redirection. Every moment that made you question yourself was building awareness that you now carry without even realizing how much it has changed you. You were not being pushed down. You were being built up in ways that could not happen in comfort. The weight you felt was not there to destroy you. It was there to develop you, to stretch your capacity, to deepen your understanding, to refine your ability to discern what aligns with you and what does not. And even the delays that frustrated you, the moments where you felt like things were taking too long, where you wondered why progress was not happening at the pace you expected, those were not denials, they were protection. There were things you were not ready for yet, situations that required a different level of awareness, connections that needed to be filtered before they reached you, opportunities that had to be aligned with the version of you that exists now, not the version you were before. If certain doors had opened earlier, they would not have led you where you are meant to go now. If certain people had stayed, they would have kept you connected to patterns you have already outgrown. If certain paths had remained available, they would have taken you further away from the direction you are now stepping into. So what you experienced as delay was actually alignment, happening at a pace that ensured you would not lose what is meant for you once you receive it. It is not because you avoided it. It is because you moved through it. You did not give up when it would have been easier to walk away. You did not shut down completely when things became overwhelming. You continued, even in small ways, even when your strength felt limited, and that persistence has brought you to a point where that resistance no longer holds the same power over you. The assignments against your peace are being cancelled. The patterns that tried to keep you stuck are being broken. The weight that once felt constant is being lifted. And this is not something that might happen. It is something that is already in motion. You are already experiencing the beginning of it, in the way your perspective is shifting, in the way your thoughts are becoming clearer, in the way your energy is no longer as heavy as it once was. And as this continues, you are stepping into a new level of freedom, not just externally, but internally. Freedom from constant overthinking, freedom from cycles that drained you, freedom from carrying things that were never yours to carry in the first place. And along with that freedom comes favor, not in a way that separates you from others, but in a way that aligns things for you with greater ease, where opportunities begin to connect, where the right people begin to appear, where movement begins to happen without the same level of resistance you once faced. And with that favor comes manifestation, the point where what you have been building internally begins to take form externally, where ideas become reality, where intentions become outcomes, where what once felt distant becomes present. And this is where your awareness becomes important again, because you need to recognize what is happening so you can move with it instead of questioning it. So right now, I want you to do something intentional, something that aligns your mind, your energy, and your focus with what is already unfolding. Repeat this, not casually, not without thought, but with presence, with belief, with understanding of what you are declaring over your life. Say it clearly, whether out loud or within yourself, but say it with intention. I am ready for my breakthrough. I am ready for what has been prepared for me. I release the belief that my past defines my future. I accept that everything I went through was building me, not breaking me. I am aligned with what is meant for me, and I move forward without fear, without hesitation, without doubt. I receive the freedom that is already being released into my life. I accept the favor that is aligning things in my direction. I allow what has been forming internally to manifest externally in the right way at the right time. And I trust that everything is coming together exactly as it should. Let those words settle into you, because this is not just affirmation. This is alignment. This is you stepping into awareness of what is already in motion, choosing to move with it instead of resisting it, choosing to trust what is being prepared instead of questioning whether it will happen. And as you continue from this moment, carry that understanding with you, because you are no longer walking through the same phase you once were. You are stepping into something that reflects everything you have already become, and nothing from your past was wasted. Nothing was meaningless. Nothing was without purpose. It all brought you here, to this exact point where everything begins to make sense, and everything begins to move forward in a way that reflects the strength, the growth, and the alignment you now carry within you. This is your moment, and you need to hold on to that truth with everything in you, because as you step closer to what has been prepared, there may be one final attempt to distract you, to pull your focus away, to make you question what you already feel is real. But you have come too far to turn back now. You have endured too much to doubt at the edge of your breakthrough. Jesus sees you with pride, with love, with the certainty that your faithfulness is about to be rewarded in ways that will exceed what you expected. And you are not standing here alone, because Archangel Michael stands guard over your path, strong, unwavering, ensuring that what is meant for you cannot be taken, cannot be delayed, cannot be denied. Your breakthrough is not a possibility. It is guaranteed. Your blessing is not uncertain, it is inevitable. And everything that has been set in motion is moving toward you right now.